Hello, and welcome to my Q&A today. And questions that you've sent in. I know some of you are having a really tough time right now, and I've been recording some videos this morning actually that I'm going to put up later on my YouTube, so do check those out. So, hi Nadine, hi everybody, hello. So if you've got questions and you're joining me on YouTube or Instagram, please do pop your questions in today because I am here to answer all your questions. I've got all these questions that I want to get through today. And a lot of them are to do with feeling anxious about coming out of lockdown and actually getting back to life without your ex, which I know is a tough one for a lot of you because some of you have been through breakups during lockdown. So not as if you didn't have enough to deal with, right? And then you're now dealing with a breakup. Now, there's something almost strangely comforting about being in isolation. We've got used to it now. And I know a lot of you are nervous about that changing. Nervous for lots of reasons. Nervous because of the uncertainty, nervous because of fear of the virus, nervous because you are just not used to being out and about and maybe, getting back to that. Well, we're not going to get back to our old routines, are we? It's going to be a new normal yet again. So it's going to need more adapting, more flexibility. How are we going to do that? So yeah, it's an interesting one. So how are you going to cope with that? Has anyone got any plans? Has anyone got any thoughts about what they're going to do differently? I know that you've learned a lot of skills that have helped you cope over the last 3 months. You've probably adapted in ways that you didn't even think were possible. I don't know if any of you saw my Michael McIntyre video that I posted up last night on my Instagram. It's a really funny comedy sketch about he goes to a fortune teller. Did anyone see that? He goes to a fortune teller in 2019 and he gets I won't spoil it for you, but he gets his fortune read and it's very, very funny. Because obviously the fortune teller is looking into the future at 2020 and the virus and everything and what he'll be doing, and it's just nuts. And it sounds very unbelievable and it sounds like it's untrue, but the funny thing is, whilst it is quite unbelievable and whilst it is crazy, you have all adapted to it and you've all done really well because look, you're here. So the fact that you are that flexible and can adjust to a new normal, which has meant so many restrictions and new regulations and things that you've got to get used to, just proves to me that coming out of this, that you can do it again too. Okay, now obviously it's a slow easing of lockdown, so it's not going to be any drastic changes. So you can really start to feel your way forward and put one foot in front of the other and do it at your own pace in your own time. Now, obviously, if some of you are working or some of you have got other things that are keeping you busy, then that's a good distraction to have in a way, as it helps to sort of soothe you back in. But for those of you that don't work or aren't going to be working for a while, maybe you've lost your job, I know some of you have, then these are going to be challenging times ahead where we have to think on our feet and figure out how we're going to move forward. So how are you going to do that? Well, first of all, you've learned some self-resilience. I know that because you're still here and you've learned that you can't always run to somebody else to solve your problems right now because of the lockdown. You've had to solve a lot of your own issues yourself, which I know has been quite challenging for some of you. And I know that you have overcome and done a great job with that. So what I want you to do is be able to look at the skills that you've learned and the lessons you've learned, and then decide how you're going to move forward with that. What are you going to do? How are you going to use those skills to move forward? Because you've mastered so much of this, okay? You've done an amazing job. You have really done an amazing job. And I think a lot of people are focusing on what they don't have and the things that are wrong. But actually, sometimes we need to stop and look back and just see how far we've come. Because yes, there's been challenges. Yes, there's been tough times. Yes, there's been a roller coaster of different emotions. But look at where you are now and how far you've come in this process. So I'm super proud of what you've done already. So let's now see how we can use those skills to move you forward. And coming out of lockdown will be an interesting new step. But you've got the skills. You managed it before. You adjusted before, and you can do it again. And you will do it again. So what are the things you're going to do differently coming out? Because this is a great chance to reset your life. Remember, having time now to figure out what is essential. I mean, who knew that toilet paper was going to be up there on the list with Dettol wipes And things that we would have maybe thought were super essential, like haircuts and manicures and those sort of things, are just, we've coped fine without them for a certain amount of time. So these things are proof that you can adapt to a new normal and you can survive. So breaking up with your partner is another one of those challenges that life throws us, which we need to get used to and adapt to a new normal. Now, one of the questions I got into this week was super sad, really, and it's just all so common. And being the patron of a domestic abuse charity, I see a lot of domestic abuse, and I see a lot of things that are really tough to know that people are going through. And somebody reached out to me and said that they've split up, but the abuse still goes on. She's got a young daughter and she's really suffering. So I just wanted to give you some advice. How do you cope with gaslighting and confusing behavior after the end of a relationship? Because a lot of people think that when you get out of a relationship, an abusive relationship, that everything, then your life can go forward, and actually that's not always the case, because sometimes abuse, and quite often abuse, will accelerate and increase after breakup. And the reason that is because the abuser is losing control of you, and that control is something they desperately need. So actually, the more you pull away, the more you stand on your own 2 feet, the more they are incentivized to try and drag you down. And so what the advice always is no contact if you can have no contact. If you have to have contact, then please do minimize it and keep it to email only. Don't share personal information, and make sure you rebuild your boundaries. We've talked about boundaries a lot in these videos, and if you've missed any of those videos, go back and have a look on YouTube, because they're all in my live section. But about what is acceptable behavior for you. Now that you're out of that relationship, what will you tolerate and what won't you tolerate, and what will you just walk away from going forward? I would suggest strongly that you get in touch with your local domestic abuse charity. If you're not already, you may already be in touch with them, but please reach out to them, because they are trained to help and support you, and also know people that can help you in your community too. So I would definitely reach out to them, because they can support. Also, on my website, there is a button that says, am I in an abusive relationship? Do have a look at that, because there's videos on there that are free. You just need to put in your email address, and then you can get access to all the videos. I basically talk you through, why do we get into abusive relationships? How do we? And how do you cope? And when you get out, how do you best protect yourself? So that's interesting. And actually, I was talking to one of my coaches who's training with me at the moment, and she had a perception, which was interesting, that everybody that is suffering from abuse, she said, well, she had a client who she was doing some training sessions with, and it came out that she'd been in a very abusive relationship. And it was funny. She said, but the thing was, she didn't come across as if she was suffering from abuse, because she was very confident, very together, and she just looked like she had her life all sorted. And I was like, wow, is that the perception? Because I know that most, well, not most, but a lot of people that are going through abuse are not like broken and crying in a corner. Most of them have learned to adapt. Most of them have learned to cope with enormous amounts of stress and pressure, and you wouldn't notice, you wouldn't even know. So, in fact, they're the people that look maybe the most together. I mean, J.K. Rowling's recently come out, and there's so many people that say these things, but you would look at them and you wouldn't know. So this is why there needs to be more education about abuse, because it's not necessarily, it isn't always the people that are crying in the corner that are suffering. It can be lots of people that have it all together and look as if they have it all together, Radhika, hello. She says, I've been creating vision boards for the future. Yay, I'm a massive fan of vision boards for the future. I call them reality boards, actually, because it's all about making it real. And you've got to dream big, okay? If your dreams are average or really easily obtainable, then you're setting the bar too low, okay? I want you, when you set your reality boards or your vision boards, which are basically, talked a little bit about it yesterday, didn't we, about getting a piece of card and then pictures or words or phrases, magazine set of pictures, going through, because I do this in my breakup recovery retreats. I bring all these big bags of magazines, the health magazines, sporting magazines, home magazines, fitness magazines, and people cut things out and stick them on their vision boards, things that they aspire to have or be more like, or people they want to be around in the future. Just putting all that out there in words, phrases, sentences, however reflects your personality. And they're so powerful. It's kind of the law of attraction. You kind of have to focus on what you want. If you're focusing on what you don't want, you're going to see more of it. If you focus on what you do want, you're opening up opportunities, and you're more likely to see it when you get there. You wouldn't leave your house in the morning without knowing where you were going, because one, you'd never get there, and two, you wouldn't even know if you did. So this is why it's important to take control of your life right now. This is a great opportunity with the easing of lockdown to start to think about how you want your life to be. Who do you want to become? What do you want more of? And dream big. I mean, if you start out and thinking, well, I can only dream as big as what I could imagine now having. So, for example, if you said, money-wise, I couldn't afford to do this or go on that holiday, so I can't put that on. But actually, if going to the Maldives is your ultimate dream, put it on. Because actually, having these goals, it will inspire you to step up and be more and take bigger actions, because you'll know that your life is there for you to create. There's no restrictions apart from the ones you put on, okay, that you accept, that you abide by. Blow them out the water, and let's get you focused on getting towards what you truly dream of being and having. That's what living is all about. It's not about striving constantly to have more in your life. It's about allowing yourself to have the freedom to work towards. If you think about this, for example, when I started out on this business, with my divorce coaching business, I sat on a beach in Australia with one of my friends and going through a very difficult divorce. It was very painful. And I was sat there and I said, you know what, I think I kind of want to have a business where I use these skills that I'm using to try and cope with this, to share them with other people. At no point then did I imagine that I would have a global brand, 2 best-selling books, have it translated into Chinese, have it selling all over the world, be running retreats everywhere, be in newspapers, magazines, most months, articles that I've written. I mean, I just never have imagined that. I'd have a community of coaches who train to never. So if I just thought, well, what's real, what's realistic, I would never have been able to get there. And actually an interesting part of that journey was when I was setting up my business 8 years ago now, maybe. My accountant says to me, you need to have a name for your business style that goes on the accounts. It's not necessarily the name you'll use on all your stuff, but, just a name for your business. And I said, I want it to be Sarah Davison Global Enterprises. And he laughed and he said, Global Enterprises? I said, yeah. And he said, well, is it going to, it's UK based, isn't it? And I said, yeah, but it is now, but I want it to be global one day. And he laughed because it doesn't really matter, Sarah. And now look, my business is global. I have clients around the world and all the rest of it. And that is what I mean about the power of dreaming big. If you set your restrictions as to what you think is realistic based on what you know now, you're going to close off so many opportunities. You've got to dream big and reach for the stars and do your best. You've got to step up and you've got to take action. Nothing worth having comes without working hard for it. So you're going to have to push yourself out of your comfort zone and go for these things. Go for the dreams, make them happen. And you can just do small steps along the way. Okay, Radhika asks, should you deal with the ending of a friendship as a result of a breakup in the same way as dealing with your breakup? Good question. Should you deal with the ending of a friendship as a result of a breakup in the same way as dealing with your breakup? It depends on the friendship, I guess. How do you cope with the ending of friendships? I think friendships are interesting because when we've got that friend in our lives, we assume it's for life. But actually, friends come for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. Some friends are there because you're in a certain place at a certain time. They were meant to be there. That was it. A season, maybe they'll go through a certain part of your journey with you. I know that, for example, if you've got kids, you might go through the baby phase with lots of mums. They're maybe you're in your NCT class, or maybe at the baby nursery, or maybe at the baby classes, all those sort of things. But then you're not going to take all of those friends with you forward into the next stage. When you go to different places, live in different places, move out, they go to different schools, they grow up. It's not always going to be, you're not going to take that entire group of friends with you. So it's a season they're with you for. And then lifetime, they're the friends that are always there. They're the friends that right now, during lockdown, maybe you haven't seen them or spoken to them for 10 years, but they've sent you a text to say, you all right? How are things going? You know who those people are. Those people that kind of have always been there in the background, and you could phone them no matter what. They'd show up for you, but you don't speak to them that much. Maybe hardly ever. But they're friends in the background that are always going to be there for you, or the friends that, you know, you're super close with and you've known since you were young and they've grown up with you. So I think it really depends on where they fit. And a lot of the time when you get into a relationship, you meet new people because they're the friends and social circle, maybe the work circle of your partner. So they're in there maybe for that phase of your life. But then when it comes to the end of that phase, naturally, they're going to fizzle out. Now, some of them will come with you because maybe, you know, they initially were friends with your ex, but actually the bond formed stronger with you, and maybe your ex did things that maybe they didn't like or something, so they will be your friend. But that doesn't happen very often, and when it does, it can be tricky. It can be really tricky. And hello, divorce detox coach, that's a cool name. So yeah, it can be tricky. So I think looking at the friendships, Radhika, I think is you know, you have to take it down to individuals. What kind of friendship is it, and how are you dealing with it? You've got to be, you know, you can be kind, you know, and I think sometimes friends leave and it's like, look, I really would love to carry on being friends with you, but it's just really difficult right now because obviously you're in contact with my ex. I'm trying to move on with my life. It's like picking at a scab a bit. It just reminds me of things. I don't really want to hear their news or how they're getting on. This is now, I've got to just focus on me. But maybe in the future, absolutely we can meet up and still be friends. But right now, I'm afraid I can't do that. You know, you can do it a bit like that. You know, you could always do it a bit like that. So you don't have to fall out with people. You don't have to have ugly endings with these people. But you can just say, like, I just need to put things on pause a bit. And then if someone's decided they're going and you're hurt by that, then yeah, I mean, I guess you have to look at, you know, one door closes, another door opens. And actually that person wasn't meant to be there for you in the next phase, and they aren't really maybe the friend maybe you thought they were. That can be interesting too. Maybe you imagined them to be something and you expected them to be something and you'd hoped them to be something, but actually when everything came through and the things happened, they let you down. In which case, would you choose, even if they wanted to be your friend, for them to still be in your life? That's an interesting question. Would you still choose, knowing what they've done, knowing that they don't have the same values as you, knowing that they weren't there for you, they didn't support you when you desperately needed that help? You know, those are the things that I think are important to go through. So it's slightly different to the end of a relationship because your lives aren't as entwined necessarily. But I have a client actually at the moment who is really struggling that her ex's family are not also part of her life anymore, because she was really close to them, and his sister was almost like a sister to her. But he had an affair and he went off with one of her friends, and so it's put everybody in a really difficult position because they obviously still care about her, but obviously their loyalty lies with the family member, her ex. And whilst they're not pleased with what he's done, they're sad too to lose her as part of the family. You know, it's very difficult dynamic, and they don't want to say anything or do anything that might not be good. Now, Rena has asked to join the live video, so I'm going to ask if she wants to join. But you may have just hit it, Rena, by mistake, because that happens a bit. And people try and wave at me and then they hit the wrong button. But if you do want to come in, no, she said no. Okay, fair enough. But if you do have a question, you can join me live. You can jump on camera if you want. If you're brave enough, you can. And you can ask me your question live and I can answer it for you on Instagram. That's the beauty of Instagram. Rena says, sorry, wrong button. I know, lots of people do that. But yeah, I mean, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to answer your questions. So if you've got any questions or anything that you think is that you'd like me to talk about or consider, then do let me know. And it's great to see we've got some actual divorce coaches on here as well. We've got some of my coaches, we've got some of my clients on here. So yeah, I mean, if anyone's got any questions, do pop them on, because I know it's tough to answer your question there, Radhika, about dealing with the end of friendships. So I think friendships can be a really sensitive issue, but also I think, you know, friendships, I think it's, I guess it's about letting things happen naturally. Sometimes people leave your life. Yeah, they do. Some people just naturally leave your life, and sometimes you naturally leave other people's lives and you lose contact, and that's not necessarily because you don't care about them or you don't think that was that you necessarily wanted them out of your life. But it might just be circumstances. Maybe you've moved somewhere, maybe that breakup has caused problems. And also remember, sometimes when you go through a breakup, friends, you know, a client a few months ago who was saying that some of her friends had reacted very oddly to her breakup, and then it was only later that she realized that they were having real problems. but they were sort of in the denial stage. They weren't really talking about it, but just actually seeing that she had gone through a breakup, and that they decided to break up, and that they'd done that, and they was all at the same. The kids were at the same school. Had actually made it very difficult for those friends, because they sort of realised that sort of denial is sweeping it under the carpet when other people around them start to break up. I think there was some statistic a journalist was telling me about. I can't remember exactly what the numbers were, but that when someone in your if someone in your friend group gets divorced, you're much more likely to get divorced. Whereas if nobody in your friend group gets divorced, and people sort of stick it out, go, oh, well, no one else is doing it, so we'll just stay here, right? Because that's what we're supposed to do. But actually, once one person says, actually, we're breaking up, it can be a little bit of a domino effect. I don't know if you've seen that in your circle. I know that when my son was in nursery, there were only 2 of us that were divorced, and actually, I don't think the other lady was actually divorced, but she wasn't with the father of her kids. So it was just me that was divorced, and she wasn't with the father. But now, I mean, gosh, when you look at it's probably at least 40% of the year group are divorced, and it's and it's never the people you think. It's some of the people that give the most sort of happy exterior are the ones that you sort of, oh wow. Obviously, given what I do, I tend to know before other people, because people go, so can I have a quick coffee? I'm like, oh dear, okay. Oh, thanks, Radhika. That was really helpful. Thank you. Kath Fisher says, yes, she's noticed people. I think that's in relation to people breaking up. Once one person in that friend group goes through a divorce, the domino effect happens. Yeah, I mean, it is interesting. Can you suggest a way, says Thought Health, to respond to people who ask how the divorce is going? Oh, yes, don't want to hear about the reality of the situation. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And this is good training for you, okay? Because remember, I want you guys to stop telling your sad story. And it sounds brutal, doesn't it? But actually, the more you tell your story, and I'm not diminishing by saying sad, because it is sad, right? There is real, true, honest trauma and challenge and heartbreak in there. But the more you repeat and you go through the gory details and the latest updates of your sad story, the more you reconnect to the emotion of it. And the more you reconnect to the emotion of it, your body goes, I remember this story. It makes me sad. It makes me hurt here, physically hurt here. And I get upset and I feel sick. And I remember this. And then I remember these images come in my head and I feel bad. And then, it just triggers off so many negative emotions and feelings that actually it takes you right back. So the trick is to stop telling your sad story, to stop. Now, that doesn't mean you can't say it to anyone, but I mean, let's just miss out the hairdresser, which we have to at the moment, but, the people that you was, that bump in, you don't really care. So, like you said here, you said, the people that don't really want to hear about the reality of the situation. I mean, when most people say, how are you? It's really just saying, hello. They don't really mean, how are you? They don't want chapter and verse on everything that's going on in your life. They just don't. That's just not what we mean as human beings. We don't really mean, yes, dive in. Thought Health says, yes, the physical response is the same as when it actually happened. Yeah, that's right. Your brain doesn't know the difference between real and happening now and remembered or imagined. So it just takes you right back to all those emotions. And I've seen that before where, clients have turned up hysterical, having been feeling better because they've bumped into someone on the way to see me and they've told the story, the latest update. So what I would say is just stop telling your sad story and replace it with something else. To say, you know what, I'm getting through it. And you know what, one of the good things that's come out of this is, and then you have to fill in the gap, right? Because I don't know what for you it is, but genuinely think about what is one of the good things that's come out of this. It might be something, like, I get to choose what film I watch every night, or, I'm my confidence is really growing, or, I can paint my nails pink, or, whatever it is for you that means something. I think that's really important. And that's how you sort of switch it. Because, if you're at a dinner party and someone says, oh, how are you going? How's the divorce? You don't want to sit there and go, oh, well, because it's just too much for other people. And remember, everyone else has got their own stuff going on too. And, you've got your best friend or your family member that you might confide in. So find, just identify that person that you want to be able to share that with. Just find somebody that you want to share that with. And, you know, that's okay to speak to that person. Maybe you've got 2 or 3 people or a group of people that you know, I do need to keep them updated because they care and they want to know and they're supporting me. Absolutely. I'm not saying I have no support for it. I'm just saying don't tell it to everyone. And so when you're asking me, for those people who don't really want to hear, obviously they're part of that group that you don't want to tell to. So you go, you know what? It's been challenging, but you know, one of the really good things to come out of this is, or one of the things I've learned is, you know, and just flip it. One of my techniques, it's just find the good in everything that you can, even when it just seems to be the darkest of dark. Find the bit of light in there. You know, what I would say is just take that, flip it, and find the good and reflect that, or talk about something exciting that you've got coming up, something that you've got on your vision board or your reality board, or something that's on your breakup bucket list that you want to do, that you're going to do. You know, switch around and just notice when you do it how it makes you feel, because I promise you that will give you a boost. I promise you that the way that person then interacts with you is like, cool, that's inspiring. You know, look, you're not wallowing, you're not miserable, you're facing up. Yeah, it's tough, but you know what? Sometimes life throws its curveballs. There's a lot of people in a worse off situation than me right now. Did you see something about, you know, when there's loads of horrific stories and horrific situations at the moment? So I think, you know, that will give you a boost by being the stronger person, by not going into that information. And actually, it's good training for your brain to not go there, because we want to dive in, don't we? Because that's where we get our love and connection. Number one, human need, love and connection. So, you know, we'll get that love and connection that we don't get from our partner who's left, from people going, oh, you poor thing, are you okay? Oh, gosh, that sounds awful. Are you okay? But we want to learn we don't need to get that love and connection from everyone. We've got the people that we can get that from. We don't want to be the moaning Minnie in the corner telling our sad stories to everyone that will listen. Now, don't get me wrong, we've all done it at times. But what I'm saying is you need to take your control back. If you want to step up, if you want to turn your life around, you've got to look for the empowering lesson that you can learn. You've got to have, like Radhika recommends, was talking about having a vision board or a reality board, just to get you excited, your breakup bucket list. You know, dreaming big about who you want to be and where you want to go, and the people you want to surround yourself with, and the things you want to be doing. Think about in a year's time, if you're still doing what you're doing now and feeling the way you are, how are you going to be? You know, what impact it's going to have on you and the people around you? If you're still feeling exactly the same way as you are now in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, guys, life's too short. Life is too short, okay? Sometimes it's about not focusing on what we don't have, just looking back and looking how far we've come and getting excited about the future, no matter how challenging it will be, because it will never be straight sailing. It will never be straight sailing, plain sailing, happy days all the time. But, you know, there's 2 ways of looking at things. There's either looking at it as in this has been tough, but I've learned a lot and that's going to help me get through the rest, or it's doom and gloom. So which do you choose? And I really hope that these little sessions with me give you a boost and help you. Now, I'm hoping I'm here tomorrow, but I'm not sure I am going to be here tomorrow because I've got loads of things going on tomorrow with different people. So if I'm not here, I'm going to post a video up on YouTube tonight, which I think you'll find really interesting. So do watch that. And do keep dropping me your questions, because I will be jumping on again at 2 p.m. when I can. Thank you. I've loved these videos, so really helpful in getting my mindset positive. Oh, I'm really glad. And if you want to catch up on any of them, they're all on my YouTube live video section. And I'm going to put a video up tonight if technology allows. I have a few Wi-Fi challenges today, but hopefully I can get that up. I did a video this morning, which I want to share with you as well. But yeah, I'm here for you. You're not alone. Obviously, you can see there's lots of people tuning in and people wanting to be part of this. So, you know, you're not alone. And we can do this, guys. You can do it. All right. Mwah, lots of love. Have a great day. See you soon. Bye. Bye.